the OG Tekken podcast, basically. And I and also David have decided that we're going to bring this back realistically.
Hell
And
yeah.
our first interviewee, the man, the myth, the man with the fancy ass haircut, Mr. Toonietune, ladies and gentlemen.
What's going on, everybody?
What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? Now, since you are basically the guinea pig of this whole shebang-a-bang,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to know I'd like to know a little bit about you. How did you start in this crazy game called Tekken? I'd like to know.
Well, to be honest, I started pretty late. Like I've always played all the Tekkens, but I think the one that I played like kind of semi competitively, but like I didn't even know what like the FGC was at the time was in Tag 2. I played like a lot of ranked
Okay.
in Tag 2, but I was never that good.
Word.
Yeah,
Okay.
my main team was Kazi and Jinpachi. Um,
Oh.
and then but like I only really played the Tekkens because like I was either at the arcade or my dad got the game because my dad traditionally always bought fighting games
Yeah.
for like us and stuff like that and like for himself too just because like it's a tradition.
Yeah.
um he bought Tekken 7. And that was like one of those games where I always kind of played on the side, but like I didn't really like go dive that deep into it like when it first came out.
Okay.
I came from Injustice 2.
Oh, word.
That was like the first, yeah, that was like the first competitive fighting game I played.
I did not know that. Wow. Because here's the thing. I tried Injustice, and
Hmm.
I had Scarecrow. I had maybe two combos, and that's all I had. I didn't have anything else, and I realized Scarecrow was kind of hard to play. So
Yeah, that game does require some execution, to be honest. Like it's I think it's like generically like more like simple than like your typical like Mortal Kombat game,
okay.
like for instance. But like the I just like the creativity like with the combos and stuff in that game. Um, but yeah, that's originally where I came from. But then like as soon as like just Injustice 2 started to die and stuff like that, I kind of got bored with the game and I was like, well, I kind of want a new fighting game to play. Um, that's when I got into Tekken, and that was around season 3, so arguably the worst season in
Ooh,
Tekken
you
7.
came in right when
Um,
everything was trashed.
yeah, but I also went through a very big character crisis when I did first pick up Tekken because I didn't want to play Kazuya.
Oh, okay.
I like Kazuya. I'm like on release, I thought Kazuya was very boring. He wasn't very fun to play. His
Mm-hmm.
combos weren't very fun. But until they gave him back to one, the new
Oof.
bound or his new screw, I should say,
Yeah.
that move was like I love that. I love that screw. It's you can convert so many cool combos off of that, like four electrics in the back 2-1. Like
Jeez.
on the big characters like Miguel and Fakaram, you can do five electrics in the back 2-1. Like
Oh
it's
lord.
just like almost infinite possibilities once you have that bound, right?
Yeah.
And that just made Kazuya like infinitely more fun to me. Um well, when I first started, I first picked up Lee. I tried picking up Lee.
Yeah.
Um, that was like that was like pretty hard.
Okay.
But I could do all like the back two loops and stuff like that. I just could never acid rain to save my life.
Yeah.
um, and
I
then
feel like acid rain is probably one of the hardest things to kind of be able to do consistently. I
yeah,
would say.
yeah, it is very um it's very hard like consistently because like I watched the I don't know if you've seen like the Christian video about like the execution like different kinds of executions and stuff like that, but he was saying like there's like just frame execution where it's like the electric, right, and then there's
Yeah.
timing execution that's like acid rain. I was like, damn, I
Oh.
never like saw it like that. It's like opened my mind up pretty much to
Okay.
that stuff. So I've been working a lot on my execution timing, so
Execution
to
time.
speak. But
Facts.
after Lee or after I didn't have any success with Lee, after I mean after obviously we all know the famous Lomajin run at Evo
Yes.
2018. I
Yes.
tried becoming a King main at
Oh,
one point,
yo, okay.
but I can never do the grabs.
Oh, okay.
So I was like, damn, so this character doesn't fit me. And then season 3 released. That was a very like tough season to get back into the game
Oh,
because
yeah.
Leroy's fucking moms in rank, fucking Zafina, you know,
It was a
all
minefield.
yeah, it was terrible in ranked, okay? Well, like picking Kazuya back up, that was like season 3 or like it could have been like yeah, like it was the worst season I picked Kazuya
Yeah,
of all characters back
of
up,
course,
right?
yeah.
And that was like the best choice I've ever made like in
Huh,
this game. Just
okay.
coming back to Kazuya
Okay.
after that season 3 buff and stuff like that cuz man, like he's so much fun now. Like
So do you think it's a situation of that when you started season 3, it gave you it hardened you a little bit to be like, all right,
yeah.
cool. I have to go through the muck that is first off Leroy, second off Falcon Ram, who
Mhm.
who I think Leroy just came out, I believe, in season 3. I want to say, I think,
Yeah, he came out like around Evo Japan.
yeah, Evo Japan, and
Yeah.
everybody was like, oh hey, well, I'm gonna back to everything, and
Yeah.
you're done for. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. All right. Season 3.
And then yeah, Kazuya just learning him is so like the way I learned him was like you see me meme a lot, like right, like with
Yeah.
the main man, right?
Yeah.
I learned Kazuya basically through the main man, through the YouTube videos and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And, like always watched his content and everything about Kazuya. Every single video about Kazuya, like I've watched it, right?
Yeah.
And he helped me, and then like him giving me like the connections to other Kazuya players, like Chokesei is probably the biggest inspiration for me for like for Tekken, like the way I play my
Okay.
style of Kazuya, it comes from him and a mix of other players too. But I try to have like the not so caring vibe of like Boa Love, just hell
Yeah.
sweep mindlessly, right? Like no
Yeah.
matter how many times you get blocked, just fucking hell sweep, right?
Yeah.
Chokesei's creativity and Crazy Dog Pal speed. That's those are the two like three titans of like what I strive
Hmm.
to be as a Tekken player for like
Interesting.
Kazuya.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Because
Um.
like for me, like I've only heard of one of them, one of those three. Oddly enough, I have not
Oh,
heard
just
the other two.
Boa.
Yeah. Oh yeah. All I know is Boa. I have
Oh,
never heard
okay,
of those
yeah.
two. That's
Crazy
really cool.
Dog Pal is like he's a very OG Tekken player. Always he's always played Mishimas. I think at the start of Tekken 7, I think he actually mained Heihachi, but I think like deep down inside I think he's always been a Kazuya main. Just cuz like that's like his main that's always his go-to character.
Yeah.
And then Chokesei is also an OG, but like he's not really around anymore. But like he was just one of those players that like he didn't really go to like tournaments that often, but like he mostly like all the Kazuya tech that you see nowadays is like some of the stuff that he came up with. Like
Oh
he
wow.
discovered all that stuff. Yeah.
That's really cool.
Um and yeah, like the weird ass combos and stuff like that. Like I'm sure Sergi Master is also like an inspiration for that too. But I mostly look to Chokesei for all that creativity and stuff like that because like he made the like he makes Kazuya like people always like say oh Kazuya like he only has like 5 moves, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, well, like Chokesei he can make those 5 moves look like Kazuya has like over 1,000, right?
Yeah.
Like it's just amazing to me that he could do stuff like that, and that's like something that like oh like I kind of want to like take on this like legacy and like build upon it and like make also create or have some creativity with my Kazi and stuff like that and like show things that people have never seen before with the character, you know what I mean?
It's interesting you say creativity because I feel like as of right now in the lifespan of Tekken 7 because we're pretty much done with Tekken 7 like basically
Yeah.
I feel
Mhm.
like in terms of like with gameplays and game plans and like with let's take three Kazuas. Let's take three different Kazuas. Let's take yours.
Okay.
Let's take Main Man's, and let's take Sergi's. We can figure out which Kazuya we're playing against by
Yeah.
how they play, and
Mhm.
I feel like the lack of that, like, there's a lot of lack of creativity, especially with these newer games coming in. But
Yeah. I agree.
I'm hoping in Tekken 8 there's still creativity because
Uh,
that.
yeah,
Oh,
I agree with that, and I will say that so far from what I've played for Tekken 8, I feel like that creativity is there. It's just gonna take like I'm like I have mixed feelings about Heat,
okay,
right? And like I feel like that's a lot of people, and I think Heat is like extremely like I feel like it's a lot more deeper than like what people make it out to be. You know what I mean? Like people
yeah,
think that oh like it's just a 2D bar. Like well what are we gonna do with that, right? But like I feel like there's another wall behind it where it's like oh if you get past this wall like you have literally unlimited options to what you could do with that bar for that
interesting.
amount of time that you have it, you know what I mean?
Do you think a situation of that when we saw Heat in the beginning, it was just it was just 2D, and like for me the one thing that I think a lot of players don't aren't realizing is that that's a dog. Every time they're doing Heat, they're not sidestepping. There's no sidestepping.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
when you add in sidestepping, I feel like that Heat mechanic is going to be it's going to be valuable. It's going to be vital, but I don't think it's going to be as broken as a lot of people are kind of thinking about. I think
Yeah,
that's just
yeah.
me.
It's like that makes sense and like it I could definitely see that too and the way I see it is that like okay, so like for me, like the reason like 2D games are like a big struggle for me. Like I suck at Street Fighter,
Yeah.
but like the reason like 2D fighting games are like a big struggle for me is because I'm very conservative, like especially with meter and stuff like that. Like I
Yeah.
always want to save my meter, always. Like I don't care how badly I'm getting beat up. Like I want to save it for the moment where it's like, oh, I need this, like right
Yeah.
now, right? But like, in the thing that I noticed about Street Fighter, the more I watch it, is that like you know how like they have their drive gauge and their like regular meter, right?
Yes. Yep.
They burn their drive gauge like very very often. Like
Yes.
they go into burnout and everything very very often. I'm like, wow,
Mm-hmm.
like that must be like a normal thing.
It
And
is.
like the more I think about it, it's like once you go into burnout, you're basically playing like Street Fighter 5 or you're
Yes.
basically playing Street Fighter 3 or 4 where there's chip damage and stuff like that
Mm-hmm.
unblocked.
Very much so.
So I'm like even take that drive gauge away, you're basically just playing a regular Street Fighter, right? So that's
Mm-hmm.
the way. That's the same way I see with Tekken 8 is
Okay.
that once you use up that heat, you're playing Tekken. You're just playing regular
Okay.
Tekken now.
I like that analogy.
Yeah.
So basically, the heat engage or the heat mechanic is just another tool for people to use. But once
Yes.
you use it, you're basically back playing Tekken.
Yeah. Exactly. There's no like repercussions or anything for losing that bar. It's just for you to get like it's just a bonus basically.
Okay.
That's the way I see it.
Alrighty. That seems that explains a lot to me because I never got to play the beta. I
Oh,
kind of
okay,
just yeah.
yeah.
I kind of just
Because
kind
you
of
only
watched
you do
from.
only get it once every round. So like
Okay.
once that heat is gone, it doesn't come back like in the same round until the
Oh.
next round.
To the
It does
next round.
it comes back next round and then it's the same thing. But so once you
Oh.
use it, it's gone.
Okay.
It's like similar to Leroy's pimp cane. As soon as he uses it,
Okay.
he can't use it for till or I don't or did they make it so he can't use it the rest of the game? I'm pretty sure they made it so he can't use it the rest of the
Yeah. Rest
game.
of the game. Yeah. Rest of the game. You
Yeah,
can use this.
but with heat, you can only use heat once per round.
Okay.
Yeah.
Realistically, you have three opportunities to use heat.
Hmm.
So okay, that seems pretty fair.
Yeah,
I
I think it is pretty fair because like a lot of people like to like be all dramatic like oh my god like what the fuck like heat is super broken, right? I agree. I agree to a certain extent.
yeah.
um to what like some people were saying because like Tekken has always been known for for its defensive and offensive options, right?
Yeah.
And I think the thing that I don't agree with is making it so heat like the heat engager, for example, is a hard it forces you into a hard 50-50. Like you have to block. You can't sidestep once someone's um going into heat
Oh, I did
engagement on
not know
you.
that.
You're
Okay.
that yeah, you're 2 minus. You can't even step or anything. So that part I don't agree with. But I think that making or like um it's not as disgusting. Just like I think if you got to like regain heat back, I think that's too much. That's
Yeah.
like yeah, that's borderline broken.
Okay.
Um yeah, but like I don't think heat is as like disgusting and like as over dramatic and stuff like that as everyone makes it out to be. Just because we only get it once per round, and once we use that, then it's like okay, now you're just gonna play Tekken.
Yeah. Because
Yeah,
if I'm thinking about it right, like okay, yeah, you're negative like by a at least 10 or 11. I would guess at least someone that you can't really
yeah,
punish. I mean, my next thought would be like, all right, cool. If I'm getting pushed into heat, then maybe my next option would be a power crunch, like that kind of
yeah,
stuff. Like there's options, but you have to be very understanding of what those options are.
exactly. Yeah, and every
Okay.
different like every character has a different heat smash, different like not all heat smashes are like, oh, it starts with a mid and ends with like a high or whatever, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like Kazuya's heat smash is basically a demo man. So he runs up to you, he can do the heat smash, get like a good chunk of damage, like a good like 30% or so
Yeah.
off of that demo man. Or like Jin's heat engager is or his heat smash is starts as a mid, ends in a mid, and it's plus on block.
Ooh.
And he
Okay.
goes into wave dash afterwards, where his wave dash gives from that stance, his wave dash gives him a free electric. You don't have to have any
Ooh.
execution to pull that electric off.
Oh wow. Okay. That's
Yeah.
interesting. So, so with that being said, it seems like with Tekken 8, you're gonna be Kazi. That's gonna be your dude, pretty much.
Oh yeah, 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 for
You're
sure.
not you're not gonna deviate from like Azucena or you know
Yeah,
anything.
no, I might try them out maybe,
Okay,
but it's gonna be Kazuya, Kazuya and Brian.
okay,
Kazuya is main, Brian is secondary.
awesome. So oh no, my dogs are getting kind of too excited. So my next question, kind of for you, is that how so if you guys don't know, he's one of them Tekken God Primes on PC. By the way, just hold that. Everybody hold that. Uh, so I had a question for you. How did you go about learning how to play Tekken? Was it a situation of you just went to the lab, or did you just play a bunch of people, or was it a combination of both? Like
so
how
it was
did how
actually
yeah
oh okay yeah it was actually it always started in the lab just because like I always like to play fighting games where like there's good combo variety and stuff like that, like combos and different types of tech and stuff.
yeah
But mostly combos. So like that's like the first thing I always do when I play a fighting game is always go into like practice mode and like try to do the coolest looking combo I could possibly think of and stuff like
yeah
that.
yeah
Um, and then the second time it was with some friends that had also bought the game. I tried to get them into it and stuff like that. Um, one of my friends they went pretty far, like hours wise of like training with me and stuff like that. But then he like dropped the game and played Guilty Gear instead.
oh no
Um,
okay
yeah, but it's understandable.
yeah
Like yeah, it's always that creativity, like trying to find creativity within those games. Like find like that's like kind of the one thing I like about fighting games, like especially Tekken, is that like you can find ways like ways that you fight, and that like is like your style. Like you can like really say it's like, oh, like I play like, me, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like I created like the way that I play, and
yeah.
like you can really show like and display yourself to other people and be like, this is the way I play and stuff like that. Some people might like it, some people might not. Like it's whatever, right? But like
Yeah.
as long as like I have a way of putting myself out there gameplay wise, then like that's all I really care about. um and that's like kind of the way it started.
Okay. Do you think a situation could there be a situation where there's too much creativity and you get kind of lost in the shuffle of how you want to play?
No,
Okay.
actually, because
Okay.
pretty funny enough, one of my favorite Tekken games is Tag 2.
Okay.
And Tag 2 is obviously known for its like crazy off the wall like bullshit everywhere like kind of game, right? But the reason I love that game is just because of all the infinite possibilities you could possibly do, like wall combos, different like infinite combos, like reset combos, all that type of stuff, like especially like putting the tag system in there as well is like it makes the game almost like I feel like there's still people like finding new like that game is like old as hell, and I feel like there's still people finding new tech and stuff in that game that we just never got to see in the lifespan of the game.
That is very, very true. So, actually, there, Toonie, we actually have a guest coming in, hopefully here in a few
Oh snap.
seconds. Yeah. So,
Okay.
yeah, it looks like our boy, because I've been checking out chat and kind of just seeing a few
Oh
things,
okay.
and Mr. Onibakuaman is coming through here in a bit, and
Oh shit.
we can try to get this figured out. So yeah, let me kind of. Oh, hey, there he is.
Hey.
Hey yo, I believe. Oh, hold on.
Yeah, what's up, David?
Hey yo, it's all
I
good,
think
baby. It's all good.
he's probably trying to get his mic figured out and stuff.
Yeah, probably. That's all right. So
Oh,
so
he says keep going, tech
yeah,
issues.
oh
Okay.
yeah, no worries, no worries. Keep on going. It's all gravy. So, but anyways, it seems to me like with Tekken 8, everyone's kind of excited. Oh, hey, oh. Are we in business? Business class?
We are. I was
Oh,
false flag. Hi guys.
yo, let's
What's up,
go.
David?
Let's go. Yo, the OG podcast is finally together. Let's get it.
Let's go.
Let's go. So I've been chit chatting with Mr. Tooney over here, kind of getting his thoughts on Tekken 8 and kind of getting his backstory. And it's been an interesting like 30 some odd minutes.
No, excellent. No, I've been listening while I've been kind of prepping up my setup right now. So yeah,
Oh
it's
hell
been
yeah.
cool. Yeah, so tag 2, dude. So
Yeah,
that's
I
pretty
I
tough.
love that game. I really do. And people can shit on it all they want, but I still love that game. Like at the end of the day.
Oh, well, I mean, dude, like you are a rare bunch. I feel the same. I like it too. Like I think it's tight. It's really kind of a funny thing because like it's not really okay. Maybe at like immediate sight, when you're a kid, you're like, holy cow, there's like
Yeah,
70
that might have
people.
been it. I think if I played that game competitively, I'd probably hate it. But like it's just the yeah, like like I'm a lab demon, like this. And like I love finding all the new stuff. That's like my thing.
Yeah, no kidding, dude. You have shown me some crazy ass combos that I've like never even heard of every time you played. Or every time you like sat down to show me anything, yeah, I always like learn some crazy new Kazuya tech. Or just like, whoever you play a lot of characters at this point. I mean, you're taking that whole tag 2 spirit and like
Yeah.
running with it.
I've had a lot of time on my hands, and I was like, oh, I might as well make use of this time and like lab a character or so, maybe play them. If they're fun enough, just keep playing them. That's how like I got into Brian. Like I got into Brian mostly because of like uh Jimmy and funny enough, Daniel. I was inspired.
So how do you okay, so how do you kind of figure, because like I'm coming into the Kazuya game as like a noob, right? And it is like a hell of an undertaking. So how do you perceive him in like your repertoire? I mean, obviously you're in Moscow as hell. That's like your whole that's like your whole thing. And how do you fit in these other characters? Do you ever like perceive that Brian might actually be a tool you like bust out?
Oh yeah, I always think that, like, I'm always working on my Brian and stuff like that. Like, more than I've been working on my Brian more than Heihachi, and Heihachi is arguably my second best character at the moment, but I'd argue it's Brian. Um, but yeah, like, you're basically asking like how do I like play Kazuya and other characters like basically at the same time, or is that
Pretty
like
much. Yeah,
okay?
like cuz like how do you, cuz like I mean Brian is like his own goddamn thing. I mean, he is
Oh yeah,
yeah, he's a labyrinth of like crazy I mean, you just got to be good. You know, you got to be
yeah,
good with not just Tekken, but you got to be good with Brian. I mean, and I feel like
exactly.
Kazuya is the same.
Yeah, I kind of like I don't know. I always I focus on like the super, like I always do the super fundamental stuff first with the character, like get a load of like the way his archetype plays out, like what kind of character he's supposed to be. Obviously he's a keep out character and timing based character, like 3+4 jet upper such. Um and then and while working on the super fundamental stuff, I work on like uh, the timing aspect of it as
Mhm.
well. So I always try to like with all the characters, I'm always trying to get a feel of your timing. Like no matter what character I'm playing, I'm always trying to get a feel of your timing at least. Whether that be Lars, Heihachi, Brian, Leo, etc. And because like you will in this game, obviously timing is probably one of the I'd say it's one of the key aspects of fundamentals. Wouldn't you say? Is being able to see like what your opponent is doing and how they react to things.
Mhm.
Yeah. So like that's I usually look at that first and then I focus on the super hard stuff right after.
Nice. Yeah, no, that's that actually sounds really like an effective way to go through it, cuz well, people kind of when they play this game, they kind of forget about things that are so basic like that. I mean, it's hard to implement, but it's like, you know, you would think that it's like, oh, duh, kind of thing, right? But it really isn't. Like
Yeah.
just spacing out your opponent, you know, saying that out loud. And it's funny because when you tell people it's like, oh, you should work on your fundamentals, they usually, especially if they're new, like they always wonder, well, what does that mean, right? Like how does that translate to something I do or try to focus on in the game?
Mhm.
And so it's a hard long battle to get through that kind of stuff, to be honest.
Yeah. It really is. And especially with like deep characters like Brian and like Kazi and stuff like that. Like all the characters that like not only like you said, not only do you have to be good at tech and you have to be good with that character, right?
Hmm.
It's like they have like you have to have a deep understanding of like what kind of like what the character you're playing and stuff. Like all the especially the execution based characters, like characters that have super weird inputs. Like I did try Josie. Josie has some pretty weird inputs. Funny enough.
Please, I'm not gonna say anything. I'm just, yeah.
She has some weird inputs, dude.
Okay, what input? Give me an input. Give me an input.
Like the CD what's it, CD 3+4, but like that's like a weird, it's like the timing on that is weird because like it's very like uh I don't want to say inconsistent, but it feels more like a quarter circle. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
okay. I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
I know what you're saying. Okay.
Like
There's no
cause like
waifu. That's what
usually
it's
when
named
yeah,
for.
there's
Yeah.
no Weivu, but like she has the Weivu inputs,
Yeah,
but
she
she
has.
has no Weivu. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. It's the fact of that you can't just do it fast.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
have to like time it and
There's a
time it and time it. Yeah, I
yeah,
understand.
there's a weird timing to it.
Yep, that's Josie. she's she. It's a thing. It's a thing. Yeah.
It almost feels like a Street Fighter DP, honestly.
Yeah,
Yes. Yep.
exactly. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Coming from like a Mishima guy, at least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was decent at Street Fighter. I had all the negative edging and all the shortcuts, and I still was trash. So it's a thing.
You know, I suck at Street Fighter. I'm just gonna accept
Yeah, me
that.
too. I really tried, man. It's so fucked up.
Yeah,
Just to say the least.
It's a lot of spacing and a lot of knowing what your character is. Oh, not your character, but what the opponent's character is capable. Or just pressing a lot of buttons and not letting them breathe.
Yeah, and it's like also like the different like the main difference between like Tekken and that game that I struggle with is that like with Tekken, like when it comes to like combos and stuff like that, you have a lot of time to like do like the next step of a combo, like a filler or whatever,
Yes.
right? In Street Fighter, you really have to
No.
know what combo you're gonna do once you do it.
Yes, it's a lot. It's a lot of muscle memory and a lot of knowing your next option when like
Yeah.
if you get a jab or something like that. And it's very rudimentary. There's as you said before, there's not that much creativity in Street Fighter. I mean, Street Fighter 4 there was, but after that 5 kind of made it so that the path to least resistance in terms of creativity dropped very very low to make it easy, I guess. And that kind of jumps to my next question for you there, Toonie. Do you think that with the influx of newer players and the influx of esports and things like that, is Tekken becoming an I wouldn't say easier game, but friendlier game in terms of newer players? Because like Harada's always said, "Oh, I never wanted to put in frame data," but then he did, and he brought in the whole, "Hey, press R1 to do a sample combo," which it is what it is. Do you think that bringing in those type of options is taking away from being able to do 2 or 3 electrics and doing a combo?
Okay.
That type of stuff.
Yeah. So what I think of, in my opinion, I don't think those things are the ones bringing the new players into it. I think it's, I honestly think it's the game market in general that's bringing these players in, because, like, if you play, other games besides Tekken and stuff like that, like, especially modern games, that they're like, a lot of them are kind of going in the dumpster. Like, they're not very good. Like,
Yes.
I think modern, like, the newest Call of Duty is a very, is a prime factor in that. Like, these new games just don't really have any more like creativity left in their pocket, especially after the pandemic. There was like a lot of people that were like stuck inside, right? Like trying to find the game, and I feel like Tekken, like the scenes, like the offlines may have, like a lot of offline scenes may have died during that time, but I feel like a lot more people actually got into Tekken at that time online and stuff like that.
Okay.
There's I know a couple people in the scene that got into Tekken during that time of the pandemic, and they've been going hard in the game ever since the pandemic. And I also think that it's just the game market is so inflated right now, that there's like not really any good games, because like I used to be the type of person that was like, oh, like fighting games will never be I always used to think fighting games would never be as big as shooting games.
Okay.
And there's some part of me that still believes that, just because shooting games are obviously a lot easier to get into. And but I feel like the more with these newest fighting games, like I think, like if you want to make like a really like Exhibit A, basically, Guilty Gear Strive.
Okay.
I personally don't really like that, or like I like the look of the game and everything, but mechanically I don't really like the game. It's just not for me, right?
Yeah.
But that game, if we remember correctly, the it broke a record for the most viewed fighting game on Twitch,
Yes.
like
Whoa.
as soon as it came out. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, and when I went to Evo too, um, I feel like the most hype for a game, yeah, it was Street Fighter, when it came out, but it also was Guilty Gear. I feel like those are the two games that got like the crowd the loudest and stuff like that. Like they had like a whole like single long like kind of like little like intermission or whatever. So like they did that with Tekken, but they also did it with Guilty Gear, and obviously I didn't know the words. But like it's like from when they did the sing along though, it sounded like everybody in the whole stadium knew the words to like the whole song and stuff like that. I was like, wow. I was
Yeah.
like, I didn't know this game was like popping like that. Um, but yeah, that game I feel like got a lot of players into it. Dragon Ball Fighters like with all the anime people and stuff. Melty Blood, uh, you know just like all like these fighting games they may not be for me, but they've been continuously like exceeding the limits or like exceeding its limits of like what people like think the game's like. Oh yeah, like that game's not going to be good on release, but then it
Okay.
ends up like being super fucking good, you
Hmm.
know
Okay.
so I think that's the big reason why a lot of these new play or you see a whole bunch of new players coming into Tekken
Yeah.
than previous Tekkens. Like there's a reason it's the most selling or there's a reason Tekken 7 is the most selling Tekken game of all time now
Yes. That's very true.
in this generation. And funny enough, it's like Tekken 7, like people like to talk shit about Tekken 7, and we all have those moments,
Yeah.
but I feel like Tekken 7 is such a successful game just because of the fact that not only is it the most low budgeted fighting game that they've ever created for Tekken, but it's the most successful out of all the Tekken games.
Yeah.
I was like,
That's
it's
very,
kind of
very true.
funny how that works, and it's like no matter how low budgeted your game is, your game has so much like freedom and creativity to like express yourself that it's like what other game could really do that, you know?
Yeah.
And like I feel like that's what all these new players see, and that's why they want to keep continuing with the game. And there's like a lot of people that have never even like played fighting games before, but they saw like the Tekken 8 trailer and they were like, "Oh yeah, I want to fucking play that."
Mm-hmm.
It looks fucking sick.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
See, my fear though is that they see the success and they're like, holy shit.
Yeah, they
It's
can't let it get
because
to their heads.
they can't let it get to their heads, and they hopefully can't be like, it was Akuma. you know, like
Yeah.
like for them to just be
Yeah.
like, it was Negan, it was Akuma.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like we gotta put these bad boys back in, right? And I don't know, Harada has promptly said that there's not really any plans, at least until later, to do
Yeah.
stuff like that. But some asshole in a suit, way high up is probably gonna be like, well, I don't know, man. This is the first time 2D was involved. What are you talking about? Kind of thing.
Yeah, 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 for sure. And like that's like the kind of the thing with like I feel like the suits are the ones killing the games nowadays too.
Okay.
Like for example, like I'm just gonna put it the new Call of Duty, like Modern Warfare 2 was it took them 2 years like to work on that game. Like they said that they weren't gonna do the traditional, oh, we release a new Call of Duty every single year, right? This time they decided to like work on the game hard and stuff like that, go hard with it, and it came out, and now it's the worst reviewed Call of Duty game on Steam ever
Oh
out
wow.
of
Damn.
all the Call of Duty games. And now they're reverting back to their traditional ways where they're releasing one every single year because Modern Warfare 2 hasn't even been out for a year yet, and they already announced Modern Warfare 3, and it's like, dude, what the fuck? Like, there's some suit at Activision and Blizzard fucking everything up, and it's like, dude, like, you really think that shit's gonna be successful? Like, yeah, like you guys are gonna get profit, but how many people are gonna stick around to the end? And that's like one of the things that makes fighting games much more successful is because they don't like yeah they don't get like they probably don't get nearly as much money unless you're talking like maybe Mortal Kombat, but they don't nearly get as much money as like Call of Duty, right?
Yeah.
But they at least profit from it. They get their money back. Like Tekken 7, like it is the lowest budgeted Tekken game of all time, but they got their profit back within the first 2 months of release.
Yeah, that's
That's
good. Yeah.
that's succession right there.
Hmm. So okay.
So like
Oh, go ahead.
I feel like the suit it's gonna take a lot for the suits to like fuck up Tekken 8. I think Harada and Michael Murray. I think they're smart. They're smart people, and they've been through the market since the 90s. You know, like they know how they know how this shit works.
So
Yeah.
go ahead. Go
No,
ahead.
no, go ahead. Yep.
So that while that being said, do you think like so kind of piggybacking off of what you're saying about kind of longevity of
Yeah.
fighting games and of like not having a game come out every year. So
Hmm.
so my question to you is that is having longevity good in terms of keeping keeping the enjoyment up of fighting games. So like
Yeah.
so Street Fighter 6, they've been saying that it's going to be 10 years of Street Fighter 6 or it's going to be
Hmm.
like 7 or 8 years of Tekken 8. Like what we're seeing now with Tekken 7 where we're on like what year
I
7,
think this is
8,
like year 7 or 8.
7 or 8
Yeah.
and
And
Yeah.
it'll be 8 when we get the next game started,
Yeah.
ironically.
that's kind of crazy to me, oddly enough. Do you think that having that 7 years was a good thing, or do you think we should have had something sooner? Because it's gotten to a point where like, okay, cool, we have 50 some odd characters, but you only see 10,
Hmm.
like in terms of tournaments or in terms of
Yeah.
the better players. Do you think? But I kind of piggybacking off of that. Besides having all of these years of fighting games, do you think having a bigger roster helps the longevity of fighting games or of Tekken? Let's go with Tekken. Of Tekken.
Uh, it's very mixed. I think for casual people, I think it does. I
Okay.
think having a big roster for casual people is definitely um it is for their longevity, but for competitive play, I don't think so.
Okay.
I think it depends on if the game is fun to play and like that's for casuals too, but I think it's also balance wise too. Like not super broken like Tag 2, you know?
Yeah.
Like because like I do think that like Tekken 7 like is very I wouldn't say like super unbalanced, but I do think it is unbalanced, but a lot of people like to think that it's just as unbalanced as Tag 2. I was like, are you forgetting about fucking like Jinpachi Hug? I mean, at least they literally like yeah, Kazuya has that move, but at least they locked it behind Rage. Like if they didn't have if he was like Tag 2 Kazuya where he could just transform at any time, Kazuya would be the best character in the game easily. It wouldn't even be a competition. Zafina, Fangwei, Kunimitsu, all of them, they wouldn't stand a chance against Kazuya. You'd probably see like 8 Kazuyas in the top 8 if that were the case.
Oh wow. Okay.
So
I did not know that.
yeah,
Yeah, there's some
Devil
crazy
Kazuya
stuff.
like with the mid electric Jinpachi Hug, insane, disgusting 50-50. Like that right there is already enough to get him into top 10 if he or let alone top 5 if he was able to transform into Devil at every moment. But
Yeah.
since they locked it behind Rage, like that was like a very balanced thing to do, I'd say. And like yeah, Zafina, Fangwei, Kunimitsu, like yeah, they're like broken, but I wouldn't say they're as broken as when Leroy and fucking Realm came out.
Okay.
Like, I don't even think it's close.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, yeah, Tag 2 is it seems like there was a big paradigm shift between Tag 2 and 7, right?
Mm-hmm.
7, I mean, okay, more than likely it's because of the budget thing where they had such a small budget that they had to focus on a very particular like aspect of the game, basically like the mechanics and stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas Tag 2 was just like, let's make this fun like melting pot of whatever the hell we want. I mean, and
Yeah,
like you said,
exactly.
like, even Tag 2, you look at Bob there, he had down back 3+4+4. That shit didn't stagger back then. You
Mm-hmm.
could just do it, and it didn't matter. It was cool. Like, you could just go hard. Like, you can look at old Tekkens, like in Tekken 3, slippery kicks with Eddie didn't stagger. You just did it. Like they didn't give a shit back then. And in a weird way, like there's like kind of a split because the new guys, they like that, easy reproducible thing, right? They like how it's like an expected sort of result, and they're like, oh, esports and stuff like that. So they're kind of like looking for those balance things. Like one thing Saul was telling me was that one of his noob friends that joined the game, he saw Leroy and he went on release and he never played Tekken again. Like that was it. That killed the game for him completely. And it's kind of strange because a lot of the old crew, they're used to this sort of era of Tekken where no shits were given, and now we're faced with a very different type of folk. And I don't know. There's some people that have claimed that they're sort of done with the game with 7 and whatnot and have moved on. But at the end of the day, you have to balance the desires of the new people versus the old people, and what's actually ultimately better. Is it actually cool that they stay true to their strange like niche core thing and then almost die like in Tag 2, or is it cool that they shifted now, and I guess now we're seeing with Tekken 8 to this new like totally brand new thing with just sort of the name slapped onto it.
Yeah, exactly.
So
And
I don't know.
the thing that people like to leave out too is that like when people claim that, oh, Tekken is dying, like I keep running into the same guy in ranked or whatever, right? I'm like, dude, you're forgetting that this is all on PC. This is PC only. Like,
Yes.
if you like now Tekken 8's gonna have crossplay, and like with not only with PS4 but with Xbox as well. We're gonna have crossplay across all the systems, right? And it's like, dude, like you're claiming that the game is dead, but you're still running into a good amount of people, like whether that be the same guy in ranked or whatnot. Like there are people, like I feel like there's a lot of casuals, like and I feel like there's a good amount of like high level players where you can like be like, oh yeah, like I recognize that name, right? Or like I think the casuals, like once again, it's like the rank inflation or whatever, where like a lot of people like to get to a certain rank and like stay there. Like I was one of those people. Like when I got to Fujin and like Yakuza or whatever, I stayed there for a good while. But I feel like that's where a lot of the people are hanging out. It's like when you like every time I go into ranked, at least like with my other characters, like not Kazuya, like it is harder to find matches up in the high ranks. Like when I was Tekken got it above, it was harder to find matches. But like once you get to like purple ranks like Mighty Ruler, Fujin, and stuff like that, it's so you find games like instantly every single time. I'm like, so the game isn't dead. It's just people don't want to like, they don't want to get to those high ranks, or like they probably do, or they're just scared. And like, whatever way like they enjoy the game, but like they're mostly all like in the lower ranks. That's where most the player base is. But people like to claim that Tekken is dead, and I'm like, dude, you can look at the Steam charts. Like the game is at least on 5,000 to 7,000 players like on like every single day. Like the game isn't dead. It's just you're on one platform.
Yeah. Okay. I see what you're saying, and
Yeah.
I see what you're saying in terms of like if like because okay, so here, so my next kind of question or comment or whatever the case may be, it seems to me a lot of people have put in the stake of PC of like, okay, if you're not playing PC, then you're not really playing Tekken. And in my opinion, I think that kind of denigrates the PS4 players and the Xbox players, because
Yeah.
like there's still high level players in all three genres. It's just that the higher level players, so like all the sponsored players, or all of
Yeah.
the like the Joey Furies, or like the Cuddle Cores, they're all playing PC. That's
Yeah.
why there's such an emphasis on PC. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Um, and
Let's shoot that bitch.
yeah,
Good
yeah,
shot.
get shot, kid. If I can figure out how to do it the proper way, anyways. But get shot, kid. Bam, get shot, kid.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
Get shot, kid. So anyways, back to that kind of the ending question is that and I feel like this kind of started around season 3.5, like kind of when you started there too, like 4, where like people got into PC, and that's all anybody cared about.
Yeah.
So, do you think with this crossplay situation, we're gonna have more diverse,
Oh yeah.
like
Oh
just
yeah.
we're gonna be able to know this best Xbox player, oh this best PS5 player, and
Oh
it's
yeah,
not.
and I can already see like I can already see the YouTube thumbnails of people just posting like their matches, like, oh, I played against the best like Tekken Xbox player or whatever, right?
Yeah,
Like I played against the best player on Xbox or something, right? But yeah, I do think that like a lot of people don't take into consideration that like they don't give the PlayStation players, the respect that, PC players deserve and stuff like that. Like there's a couple players that like just transferred over to PC recently, like, Wami's has always been like a easy, like he's always been in every single top 8 when it came to PlayStation tournaments, and that's when all the sponsored players are like going over to PlayStation to play in that tournament, like whether that be Joe Crush, VDX, um well, like Cuddle Core, Joey Fury, like when they do go to the PlayStation tournaments, Wami is always in top 8 with them, and like same thing with Jumanji.
yeah,
So like I do think that like if they included the PlayStation people more, I think that yeah they would or like in Tekken 8, I think we're gonna see a lot of diversity and stuff like that when it comes to crossplay, and we're gonna see a lot more players like get like put in the into the spotlight more, because yeah I do see what you're saying is like all like the high levels like sponsored players, they all do play on PC.
yeah. And for me, I've been told by a few people that I am a offline degenerate, because I feel like because in my opinion I feel like offline gives you a better gauge of how well you actually are in terms of
Oh yeah.
playing. And
Yeah.
I've had a few people that I've talked to say, why put emphasis on offline when online you're like, oh hey, I'm I'm a emperor online, but when I go out of my safe area, my safe bubble, I go 1-2, or I go 0-2, like that type of thing. Like what's your
Hmm.
stance on that in terms of like, all right,
uh
yeah,
I mean, I really don't think that, like, I think rank like doesn't matter for shit offline. Like I've seen TGLs get like go 0-2 in that tournament before.
yeah,
It's like I know how good they are online, but they went 0-2 in an offline tournament. But like I think offline, like, there's gonna be those people who are like, oh, like I beat you online, so like you can't beat me offline or whatever, right? It's
yeah,
like, dude, like online and offline, those are two completely different worlds. It's like night and day. The
Yes.
the netcode is not good on Tekken 7 at all. Like barely playable, honestly.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
but offline, like there's no like there's like literally zero like tech issues, like
Yep.
or like mechanically, right? Like
Yep.
the game works perfectly offline. You know, maybe the game will like I don't know crash with the PlayStation 4 every now and
Oh,
then,
yeah.
but like
Yeah.
you know, like in Tekken 7, like with online tournaments and stuff like that, there's so many things that could go wrong, like in
Yes.
an online tournament. Whether that be like, oh, I fucking crashed and I dropped my like, or like I crashed during a combo and now, oh look, my opponent has to wait a good like 5 to 6 minutes for him to like go back to the main menu screen. Then he has to create the lobby again and like all this other stuff. Oh, my internet's not working today. Oh fuck, like you know, it's like there's so many things that could possibly go wrong with an online tournament and offline. There like
You
with
don't
the
get.
we're just talking about the game. There's nothing that could go wrong.
Yeah.
Maybe the game will crash. Who
Yeah.
knows? There's nothing that could go wrong. Maybe you have stream issues. Who knows?
Yes.
But if we're talking about just the game itself, there's nothing that could go wrong.
Yeah.
So when we're fighting offline and you lose, that's on you.
Exactly.
You can't blame it on the lag.
Yeah.
Well,
Go ahead, Oni.
people forget that online is a simulation of offline.
Exactly.
It's the next best
Exactly.
thing you got. I mean, you're by yourself. Like, what are you gonna do, right? Like, you can't just
Mhm.
have your homies around all the time. So it really is like, and what was it, Cody Vu? He was saying that like, you know, ranked is just a tool for practice
Thank
or
you,
online
thank
actually
you,
in general.
thank you.
Ranked is absolutely, and it's cool. Like you may as well gamify it. You know, put yourself a little fucking, you know, golden tiger in the top left corner of the screen so you're happy.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's tight, right? Why not? But let people let it get to their heads, and like, you know, that's how we know everyone's bots, dude. They see like a happy little picture, and they're like, "Oh my god, dude! Like I'm TGP. Who gives a fuck, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't mean shit, right? Yeah, it's hard to get to it. You know, it takes a while, and it took a while to get to there.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's a JPEG.
Yep.
You know,
Exactly.
You know.
Yeah.
It's I'm so glad you said that, Oni, because like it is supposed to be for training. You're supposed to train online to be ready for offline.
Yeah.
That's how I look at it, and that's how I've been looking at it ever since I started getting into offline for Tekken. Is that I get blown up online. I get mega blown up, but when I go to offline, it's a whole different situation entirely. You know, and
Yeah.
you know, I wish more people would understand. What more people would understand that, because you
Yeah.
know we've all seen players that are pretty darn good online go offline, and then their ego gets completely shattered because they think
Yep.
there's something they think there's something, and then you know then they have an skewed idea of how good they actually are, and they're too afraid to get better because they're happy in their ability, I guess. If that
Mhm.
makes any sense.
Yeah, and like a big example of that is like Boa Love is like arguably the best Kazuya in the world, right? And
Yeah.
like every time I see him every time I see his stream, he's always he's always around like True Tekken God to like Tekken God Prime, and then like occasionally he's Tekken God Omega, then he loses it, then he like goes back all the way back down. Like I've seen him go back down to Tekken King before, and I'm like, dude, this is the best Kazi in the world, and like everyone's like, oh, like Bo, like I've seen some high level players. I'm not gonna call out names, but I've seen some high level players like be like, oh, Boa, like, dude, like how is his Kazuya the best in the world, right? I'm like,
There's
well,
a
I don't see your
difference.
Kazuya beating me. I
There's
don't
a
see your
difference.
And
Kazuya beating
Arthur.
Chanel. I don't see
And
your
Arthur.
Kazuya doing
Mhm.
all like this and that. Like, like a lot of people forget, and they will never like people will. I feel like people will never see this. Boa Love is the very first person or to send Arslan Ash to losers in
Mhm.
in a
That
major.
that was a bit ago too. That was a couple years
Yeah,
ago, right?
2019, Evo 2019.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He
They
sent
didn't
him
put
to
it on
losers.
stream. It's like,
Yeah.
God damn it, that's the one
Yeah,
game,
dude,
the
I
one game
know.
that fucking mattered. You
A
know,
lot of people forget that, and a lot of people still don't know till this day that he was the first one to do it at an EVO where he sent Arthanash to losers, and like it pisses me off because everyone's like, oh, like blah blah blah, like he fucking sucks, like he's the worst Kazuya ever. I'm like, dude, like no fucking shot. Like why? Just because he's like not TGO? Is that why? Like he's like always around True Techie God and stuff like that. I'm like, dude, like who fucking cares? Like he plays ranked just to play it. He's not playing for the rank. He's playing to fight everybody. He's playing to fight the best players.
And
that's why he's playing.
And that's what you just said there. He's playing just to play. He's not playing for the rank. And a lot of people forget that. They forget that, like what Oni was saying. It's just a JPEG. It's just a word, a little blurb on the screen that says, "Hey, you play this game way too damn much."
Basically, yeah.
Just being real, And
go ahead. If that's the case, then that means that Janver is the worst player in North America. Like, that's what the fucking rank picture implies. And obviously no one believes that, right?
Yeah.
He is the first Dan in all of our hearts, right? Like he's the one that goes out there and just shits on everyone and then just kind of silently like leaves.
Yeah.
And he's everywhere. He's just ever present. But like that's it's people put way too much focus on the rank. It doesn't make any sense, right? Like one of the hardest battles I fought ever was against an old school Fujin guy. It was in that range. I forget the exact range, but within those blues, and it was KOF Tekken. That guy was outrageous.
Yeah,
he was so fucking good. I was like, what the hell? We did Kazuya mirrors, and it was the hardest like battle of my life.
Yeah.
And then and there's some TGPs that I could just like completely smoke with my shitty Kazuya.
Yeah.
It was he's in like Ryujin, and had a blip of Tekken God for like 10 minutes, and then he went back down to fucking blues and stays there while everyone forms me.
Yeah.
And like there's people that are even offline and like in locals and stuff like that. Like there's people that aren't even like they haven't even reached like the like Tekken God Prime status or anything, and I've seen them win locals. If I'm not mistaken, I think Daniel, the highest rank I think he's ever told me that he's ever gone was Tekken God. And when I was going to those locals, like when I first started going, like it was always him and Pit Viper, always in grand finals.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Sang is not even remotely that high too.
Sang?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like shouldn't that say a lot? Like come on. Yeah. Like offline matters way more than online does. Like that's case closed.
It's interesting that I'm waiting for the rebuttal of someone being like, oh, hey, online matters more than offline. And then I'll be like, all right, case in point, we'll go over to the Toonie interview.
Yeah.
It's interesting because like with Tekken, like my first ever Tekken was this, and I come from the old school of if you're gonna learn how to play a fighting game, you're gonna have to go and get beat up. And I feel like a lot of newer casual players don't want to get the heat, and they don't want to learn, and they're happy with being in one space. Now, that's okay for a lot of players, but now it's a situation of when is the new guard gonna come up and take over the old guard's spots? That needs to happen sooner or later, but I don't know when that's gonna happen.
I think it's once I feel like it's once like the new players stop caring like so much. Like I feel like the old players I feel like are more laid back and like they're like, oh, like yeah, the game has changed, but it's like still gonna play it, right?
Yeah.
Like you don't see Poke Chop in the corner like, oh, like fuck this shit. Like, no, fuck this, fuck you, like, fuck all these new players, right? Like,
Yeah.
he's helping them, right?
Exactly. Yes.
Same thing with Lil Majin. He's helping them. And he's
Mm-hmm.
trying to show them and guide them to, like, guide them in a way where it's like, dude, like, online, this shit doesn't matter. Offline, this is truly where it matters. And
Exactly.
like, I feel like the only players that have been able to, like say, show that are the people that have been, like, have either like trained with or been like mentored by like OG level players, like
Yes.
like Joe Crush. Joe Crush has probably like played with all the OGs like back then. Like
So,
Ty, I know Ty is
so
new and younger, but I'm completely sure that he is probably trained with like Joey Fury and stuff like that.
hmm
Like they live next to each other.
yeah.
It's like those are the, like, in like FDX. Like FDX was here in Seattle. He was probably training with like Silence and like all like James when he came up here and stuff. Like it's all the like, the OGs that are like kind of paving the way for the new players and showing them like, oh, this is Tekken. Like this is literally how you play it, and like this is like what you should care about. This is what matters, and it's like online doesn't fucking matter.
That is very, very true. Online doesn't matter.
Yes.
Well, that being said, uh, online does matter in about a couple minutes because I'm about to bust your ass. That's what's gonna happen.
We're doing this.
We doing this.
All right. All
We
right.
doing this. But before that happens, Toonie, thank you very much for being our first ever interviewer. I appreciate it so much.
Yeah, no problem. I had a great time here.
I appreciate it. David, Onibakuaman, the king.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're still here. I'm
My mentor.
Yo, the best. Yo, the best.
Yeah, no, I fucked up.
It's
Like I
okay.
was up with the dog all night. And
Oh
I
no,
didn't
it's okay.
wake up.
Hey, trust me, it's okay. Hey, I was gonna start it up anyway. So I'm thinking, the plan is that since I have kind of the reins, would you? You know what? I'm thinking we should just do